Hello everyone, welcome to RemotePreneurs again. My name is Ashkan. Today I'm going to speak to you about process. Process in a remote-based company is incredibly important, and it's very hard to see if you've actually done the right process. And what I mean by that is, a lot of times we tend to delegate a task to an employee and let them figure it out. But the reality is there's a lot of brain power that goes into thinking through the micro steps required to fulfill that task. And within that process, if you've got decisions that need to be made and they're layered into that process, you will run into problems and inefficiencies. What do I mean by that? So let's say, for example, at one of my company's top devs, we hire developers to, match them up to projects within a company. And if we just told our folks to look at their resume and if they have this and if they have that, or they don't meet this skill and that skill, to make a decision based off of that, that becomes subjective and that breaks down the process. So what we do as an example is we actually narrow it down to certain keywords we're looking for in a resume. We are looking for certain time of experience while we're doing that. And that just gets us one layer deep into our process as an example to vet out the developers. So then what we do is we move up to the management layer, and we do have a management layer that then is manually processing that. So the reason why I bring this up is because if you're delegating tasks to your employees and they are not on the management team or they're not senior level employees, asking them to make decisions actually will hurt your business because you're relying on them and they may not have enough experience and they're making the wrong decisions. And by the time you find out, it's too late. Another example I can give you is when folks are trying to delegate a simple thing like make a presentation. You've got a client, you want to make a presentation, and you tell someone, to go ahead and put something together. That sounds like an easy thing to delegate, but it actually is not. But what is the copy of that is going to be in the presentation? What are the colors that are being used? What is the tone? How many slides? I mean, just off of a simple presentation, I gave you probably 4 or 5 different roles in a company that would take to put that presentation together. And that's why a lot of founders actually struggle with that, because they hire some company to say, make me a deck, or they hire some company to say, do this for me. And they don't actually walk through the process of what are those steps needing to do. So my advice is you need to sit down. This is kind of what I do in my brain. First, I map out and brainstorm all the things that I want to do. And then I start kind of scribbling on a piece of paper on kind of how all the stuff's gonna work. And then I actually sit down and map out each step. And when you do that in a very concise fashion, when you're going from one to the next, you always gotta ask yourself, am I delegating a decision tree to someone? And if you are, that's okay, but you need to figure that out for them so that it's A, B, C, D, and if it's E, because they don't know what to do with it, you're focused on the E portion of building the business of how I can get my folks to be able to move things along the decision tree. And so mapping that out, the power that you will instill in yourself and your company by visually being able to see at what steps you actually need to pinpoint the process so that there's no decision being made on your behalf, you will thrive, especially in a remote environment where you don't really get that face-to-face. There's not a lot of visual cues you can go off of, and that makes a huge difference. So my advice to you on that is if you're building a process, don't just call it a process. Map it out and see individually if you're relying on your team to make decisions on your behalf. And if that's the case, I think it's up to the founder, the owner, or senior level management, depending on the size of the company that you have, to figure that out so you're not burdening them with that. And it's kind of unfair because that's not what you hired them to do. So I hope this video helped you guys out. Until next time, onwards and upwards.